Hey, Tiberium Wars fans, it's Ross here with their best of 5, I think, Showmatch series between Lumos in the top left as the teal GDI, and in the bottom right, it's the infamous Bikerushownz in his trademark red. We are on Tournament Arena as Bike goes Crane. I always like it when we have a difference in strategies. You can see Lumos, Engineer out. He has gone for a more traditional barracks start to capture the Tiberium spikes, which are found in the north and in the south. And alongside the Crane, Bikerush typically now moving his MCV to capture the blue fields, worth double the amount of Tiberium in the corners of the map, and Lumos doing the same. Both players getting some scouts out, and Bike just a little bit behind in securing his tip spike, but that is obviously because he went with a slightly different build. We'll see how that plays out. So we've got an early APC NG from Lumos, in fact a couple of them. We've got an MCV pretty lacking in defenses, but I mean Bikerush has some of the best micro and macro around, so he looks to have spotted one of them. And Lumos evidently scouting very well, got good views of the map. Sending a Pitbull alongside, so this is a big investment in eco early on. This really needs to pay off against someone like Bikerush. He gets the pack up of the MCV, and there's certainly enough health in that APC to cause a problem. We'll quickly flash and see where the other one went. Yep, it causes the sell-off, and it gets the Crane. This APC, it's still got one in there. And, well, I did say it had to get its bang for its buck there, but oh my goodness, fantastic micro there, transferring Engineer from one APC, the more damaged one, into the other one. And Bikerush now feeling forced to transition into a mass infantry rush. Well, not a rush, but a counter, as it were. And if he gets this spike, that is just a sensational start. And it seems like the investment in those pitbulls was really worth it. I'm struggling to keep up with all the pings on the radar here, but that's mainly due to insignificant events, and I think it's really important at this stage to do a check on the eco. So 3 harvesters to 1 ref on the blue, to a couple of harvesters here on the blue, up to Crane now from Lumos, and it's just that it's just that infantry squad, isn't it? Let's keep an eye on this infantry rush here. This might be a bit of a Hail Mary, but it seems like there are enough rockets to cause some damage, but not with some watchtowers and infantry squads being kind of sold off here. Power down, unfortunately. The pitbulls aren't going to do too well against infantry, but there are enough Tiberium silos being sold off to really easily counter this initial attack. Keep getting tricked by the same thing. We have mass eco now here, so we've got 2, 4, probably 6 here harvesters, and it's flipped over in terms of eco here. I guess that's the investment in terms of attention you get with an early APC NG. But what we mustn't forget is that Bike has no build radius here on his initial field. So we've got a swell of pitbulls, infantry and APC, so pretty balanced set of forces here. All of the blue has been completely harvested by Bikerush. There's a little bit left from Lumos. And the longer this match goes on, the more I think it favours Lumos. I can hear some snipers from somewhere. Are those snipers in the APCs? I'm trying to spot them on the map. No, here they are. Great counter from Bikerush. And a harvester goes down, so I was just about to say, is it swinging in Bikerush's favour, but the swell of infantry there countering those pit bulls fairly easily. But it was definitely the good work of the snipers there that helped Bikerush really being aggressive with the territory here. You can see that the snipers are coming straight onto the front line from the barracks there. So what I love about this play is it just shows where most players would be seemingly on the back foot, Bike can quite often turn it in his favour. We'll have to keep an eye on which player is teching up. We'll take this slight lull. So tier 3 now from Lumos. So I expect to see some tier 3 base defenses, Sonic, what they're called, Sonic emitters. it's so hard to keep everything in your head at the same time. I doubt that Bike will have teched up. He will have had to move his MCV to reclaim his reserve field. So both players now on one field each. 2 refs, 3 harvesters on this one, but it looks like they're going to go down. And the same on that field there. But it's the tier 3 that's the big difference. And the jugs coming out. So that will make light work of this infantry if it's not being really, really heavily microed. And it's unlikely that Bike is going to be able to keep up kind of this tier 1 threat and tech up at the same time. So let's have a check. That that squadron finally coming out, gaining veterancy there. And now 3 sonic emitters. So this field's well protected between those emitters and the Juggernaut, and we're getting a quick scout here. Looks like we have an Orca transition, so I really think it's going to be difficult for Bikerush to to tech up. And look at this, some really aggressive harvesting. Needs must, and they do escape with a fair bit of Tiberium. I would have liked to have seen that focused down a bit more, but maybe Lumos didn't quite have the units to do it. We can see good use of a couple remaining Predator tanks just to maybe drag Lumos around the map a bit more, and these Orcas are targeting down the harvesters. Pretty efficient, getting 2 harvesters, and now we have tier 3. So it always surprises me when players like Bikerush can manage their eco so well. I didn't think it was really possible to spew out both a tier 3 structure, 3 juggernauts, but what do I know? And all of a sudden, Bikerush has 4 juggernauts on the front line, but some clever use of the airfields there to put down a couple of sonic emitters. We must be double MCV now from Lumos, and those are in really dangerous places, but the juggernauts will make quite light work of them. And we have the space command uplink. We got to watch for some air support there from some tier 3 units, and the Orcas are making light work of these harvesters. Enough pit bulls to deter them though. 2 go down. And it looks like, though, these juggernauts are going to slowly walk down the threat from Lumos, and we now see, is this going to be some air support coming in, or is it going to be some zone troopers? It is going to be just that Orca strike there, so got to see some very mobile pit bulls here to take down these the threat from the juggernauts. Not doing a terrible job, but just with the support of the Orcas and probably the force firing of the juggernauts there, close range. And if he does make the comeback, this is pretty good stuff from Bikerush, I have to say. I think with the early sell-offs, I was really convinced this was Lumos' game, but it's just up to who can counter who at this stage with the right mix of units. But we've got a ton of juggernauts, we've got a mammoth tank, we've got an engineer along for the ride as well, just to pick up any lost juggernauts. What can these aggressive pit bulls do? They can only take a volley and a half, really, from these juggernauts before they have to get out of there. So we've got last chance infantry spam now. I think we've seen the tier 2 sold off. We've got a APC NG hoping to make its way around the back. And the Orcas sort of covering off these harvesters. Really, really proactive stuff from Bike here. It may or may not get away, but I do think it's impressive to see how seriously he's taking the threat of Lumos, even when he's in the ascendancy here. Never giving his opponent a rest, and those harvesters are being used really aggressively to take out some rocket troopers. And we'll keep a track of this. Oh, packed away just in time, and the threat is countered with, I think, just the sell-off of a... I didn't quite see what structure that was. Maybe a ref. You guys, I'm sure, will have spotted it. And Lumos gives up. That was his last throw of the dice there as we look towards the resources, and you can see that it was fairly even. Even with the sell-off of some really important structures there. Wasn't quite the big difference in resources that I was expecting, and you can see that Bikerush, or as Mondi Ans, as this Penguin account goes, well into the ascendancy. So that is 1-0 to Bikerush, and I'll see you in the next one. So the second match of this series sees us over to Rift, and I'll just check the colours are as expected. They are. So we have Bikerush sporting the left as red GDI, and then we have Lumos as the teal Nod faction here. Very unusual to see Bike as GDI on this map. I think he usually favours Nod for their mobility on this map, but maybe seeking an advantage in terms of the southern spikes here. Definitely easier to secure as the GDI. And as we see both players going for a fairly standard strategy, just as I say that, Lumos spews out several shadow teams. So really interesting to see which players get the upper hand here in terms of capturing the southern spikes, because these shadow teams should make light work of the engineers. We'll kind of try and track where they are. They're creeping around the back here, and it's my guess that they will be picked up by a couple of APCs here. So Bike now knows that there are shadow teams on the map, and I suppose he's just got to hope that they're well enough protected by a couple of APCs or a watchtower by the time they are hunted down. And it looks like with an APC already halfway on its way, that is going to be the case. And we see looks like a power plant being taken out as a watchtower is sold off as well. And I think it takes 6 of the shadow teams to take out something as big as a war factory. Just some scouting going on here, and Lumos moving his construction yard, his MCV, to get the second field, whereas Bike went for a much earlier expansion with, I think it's called an emissary, isn't it, on the GDI side, to get that early expansion. So those walking NGs from Lumos capturing those 2 spikes, so getting the short financial boost, and it looks like he's booby trapped them, and this one is booby trapped, you can see there. So this is just to destroy them here. So a bit of at least the early kind of boost that you get from capturing them, I think it's 750 each, is covered, but not getting too much benefit from those spikes from the early outlay. And in fact, that shadow team going down, so not getting the long-lasting advantage that he perhaps would have wanted, does Lumos. And I would say, modest advantage now to Bikerush in terms of being able to spit out a bunch of harvesters onto this field, whereas it's going to be slightly harder for Lumos after the heavy investment in the shadow teams, and probably not getting as much bang for his buck that he would have wanted. Although there's a couple of shadow teams here, but they're quickly spotted by a pitbull that comes out at a really, really good time. And we're just seeing a bit of lull in the action as I take a sip of my coffee here. So some scouting going on in the center of the map, and we're now double war factory from Lumos. We'll see if he is going scorpion tanks or a mixture of bikes, buggies, and the former. Bike being very proactive in getting some of the blue Tiberium here, although it might be a bit too proactive if he can't get these harvesters out in time. Unfortunately, it looks like one's going to go down. And these poor shadow teams are just being chased around the map at this point. And Bike is already towards the middle of the map. Now, between that and already harvesting quite a big portion of the blue Tiberium, I do think if he can secure this location, it is going to sway the match very, very much in his favor. And with the spikes gone as well from the south of the map, it would be difficult for Lumos to come back, I think, if he secured this area. So we will see how it goes. Looks like there might just be enough Predator tanks to hold this off for a short time. But if Lumos can keep a sort of steady flow of Scorpions, then he would be in danger. And we've got to look and see what tier Lumos is in. He's in tier 3, and I'm looking for a Tiberium chemical plant, because that would certainly, together with a push on this field, decimate Bikerush. And he's just scouting continually with those shadow teams. There we go, just about caught it. I didn't see how many harvesters went down, but at least one refinery, so I don't think that's quite enough, not when you've got this many predators on your doorstep. But there is an obelisk, so will certainly help in the defense, and just enough Scorpions to push Bikerush back. But the advantage of being so advanced into your enemy's base is behind it you will be able to sort of consolidate that field. Very, very prominent construction yard at the moment from Lumos, but it's well defended by a couple of obelisks. I'm sure these will be sold off and repositioned, but you can see his desire is very much to contest this middle field. Is he mining from here? Not at the moment, and both players do have a little bit of green that they can long distance mine. And pure luck that I spotted these stealth tanks heading to the back of Bikerush's base. He's up to tier 3 now alongside his opponent Lumos. If you for some reason skip past the first game, it is 1-0 to Bikerush. And although these stealth tanks are going to cause a lot of havoc, unless they've moved, I can't really see where they are. Maybe they've been pulled back because Bike has finished harvesting there. Maybe this is the sign that they were taken down by a sonic emitter. Sorry guys, must have missed that, but we can only guess what happened there. But I don't think it has too much bearing on the match, because that's not where Bike's eco is at the moment. Now what I do like from Lumos is that he's ready to contest this area and also cause a lot of trouble with his Scorpion kind of army here. So it looks like this area can be taken out if he can micro two things at the same time, but the railgun preds are up, and that is a huge upgrade. I can hear the EMP coming in. There we go, shockwave artillery locking down a couple of the avatars. We see an obelisk come up. We also see the support of the zone troopers coming in with not much anti-infantry. Oh, just as I say, not much anti-infantry, the Venoms come in. I'd love to see them targeting down those zone troopers, which they do immediately. Let's have a little quick update. Yep, the lasers coming in just in time for both the Venoms and the Scorpion tanks, and it's so nice to see the MCV moving so aggressively up towards the north. Another obelisk coming down. If these avatars can get in the face of those juggernauts, they'll make light work of them, but not at this range. We'll try and follow those Scorpions, decimating Bike's base. That is a really, really important attack there. Totally flipping Bike over. And I said that I thought Bike had it now that he'd secured that middle field, but he has been totally countered now, and he's actually harvested all of that Tiberium. So it's about who can make use of the units they have already on the field and who can secure the remaining Tiberium. So Bike still has a little bit more that is very close to his MCV, and just as I say that, it looks like he's secured that, but this is going to be really, really interesting. Especially if, for example, Lumos can isolate some of these rocket troops and then just force down some of those ground-only units, which he almost manages to do there. We've got some Preds threatening some Scorpions there. Sorry if I'm making you a bit dizzy with this camera here, but there is just so much to keep track of at the moment. What a fantastic series this is so far. Very to and fro. Always nice when both players start with different strategies in any match, but let alone the first two of such a tight series between two fantastic players. So I want to see Lumos now, maybe if he can, moving an MCV, maybe to secure some Tiberium either in the sort of south of the map or in the bottom left if he can sneak it round, but that's a lot to ask. And all of a sudden it seems like Bike Rush I did in my head think that it was much more even than this, but it seems like the avatars have been caught really, really far back here, and it's just allowed Bike to push with a huge swell of units. And it looks like he's going to make light work of a lot of Lumos' units here. So, yep, this is Bike's game for me. Don't know quite how I so misread that one, but a really good mix of units, I think, has swung it here. But if enough of these rocket troops can be taken out, then the Venoms can launch a bit of a counterattack. But it's just a mixture of units here from Bike. You've got the Juggernauts at the back. You've got fully upgraded Predators at the front, protecting the rocket troops, and bit of a sort of a trade here. But I think the advantage has got to go to Bike. Just with so many units, he can even spare half of them, and this looks like it's Bike's game here. You could never count him out, can you really? Maybe enough Venoms to stage a last minute kind of fight back, but I think once these Scorpions go down, that is it. Especially with some pit bulls already being a sort of layer of defense, and that engineer that came along for the journey, really importantly, picks up an avatar at stages of a game like this. It's really important. We see a flying NG in the base. I'm being very lucky here picking up these kind of things. I know if I was playing, I would definitely be caught out by something like that. So I think quite a clever pause in the engagement from Bike Rush, making sure not to throw things away. You never want to sort of clutch loss from the jaws of defeat. And he's just going to make sure that these Scorpions are taken care of before maybe putting the finishing touches to this victory. Like I said previously, in a late game kind of situation like this, you just want to make sure you have got the win. But I think maybe a mistake that some players would make is to rest on the laurels a bit too much, and the reason why Bike Rush and any top player can be classed as a top player is because they never give their opponents a rest. So he's already covered off that flying Engie, and he's using a very small force here to just hunt down any last hope of any eco from Lumos' side of things. And we see Lumos very cleverly taking out some power, trying to get maximum use of those shadow teams. But I don't think it's going to do too much here. I can see on the map now the Venoms are coming over, taking out a couple of Harvesters. How much anti-air is there? There can't be any anti-air in terms of base defenses, so after taking out some anti-air units, I'd love to see a focus on power now, power next, but there's a great deal of Pitbulls making their way over. No, I say a great deal. There's only 3 or 4, 5, 6 of them. With the eco advantage that Bike's got, you've got to think. I say eco advantage, but he's got no spikes. He's got these 5 Pitbulls, and he's still got to be careful. He's got an AA down though, and anti-air, but really clever use of some Black Hand squads, but equally clever use of a Harvester and an APC to take out that threat. So what Lumos does have is an awful lot of mobility here, and this match really is to and fro, and I've sort of called it maybe prematurely a couple of times. I thought Lumos' initial push was really effective against that central field, and I thought Bike had really sort of got the game in the bag, but credit to Lumos, he's really stayed in this, and that's not what a bunch of Pitbulls want to see. Some rocket militant squads. And this is a really good move from Lumos, not only securing some blue, even though it's a small amount, that could add up over the course of this late game, but also securing the south of this base and making sure that he's got some more Tiberium. Right, we see another attempted push by Bike, and ooh, I don't want to see many of those Venoms go down here. That is the trouble with Lumos' forces at the moment. They are not really well mixed. It would only take a few APCs or a few snipers even to take out what little defense he has of the middle, and then the Venoms, although they have the mobility, they will be made light work of by things like several rocket squads mixed with some APCs. So and of course Pitbulls as well. So as I try and keep the camera as steady as possible for this kind of action. They are choosing just to come back and protect this middle field here, as we maybe try and follow them around. And the battle has found its way to the southwest of the map here as we look at it. That is a huge number of APCs and Pitbulls, and that is a difficulty of going all in on one unit. And now Bike has ecoed up on 2 fields to Lumos' sort of not even one really. I was going to say 1 and a bit, but it's sort of a Blue's gone, green's gone. And maybe I can be third time lucky in calling this game very much in Bike's favour now. He just has a real great diversity of units, enabling him to be a little bit more flexible, and it looks like he's going in for his kind of final push here. Squaring off those units, making sure that when he does attack they're all in one line, although he's also doing so to try and cover off any impact from the Venoms. We just have a little bit of scouting there. And surely these are now going to move in to counter the remaining eco from Lumos. Bit of cat and mouse here, really. Let's have a look at these. We've got some scorpions. We've got some scorpions in the north, and Lumos is re-establishing eco on that base. So all is not lost, but it's those fully upgraded pit bulls that are going to have a massive impact. Unfortunate reverse move there, but I think the Venoms covered it off quite well, joined quickly with that attack, and we've now got two fronts, so we're going to have to try and watch both. I think this one's only got one victor, which will be Bikerush, and I wonder whether Lumos could have pushed in and maybe destroyed some of Bikerush's eco in the north, but he's chosen to try and take out the main army here, which is certainly not a terrible choice. I mean, he's got to do it one way or the other. I don't think we have tier 3 from either player now. I think it got sold off long ago, and they're relying on fully upgraded tier 1 units. Although there is an avatar mixed in with these two juggernauts that we did identify earlier. And that is all of Lumos' control in the middle gone. And we now just got a nice mine drop there, taking out a couple of tanks. And we see the final push now, and as Bike is so known for packing up his MCV, establishing eco on the way, establishing some backup barracks there, maybe get some rocket troops on the front line, and just leave nothing to chance here. Bike finally taking out the one remaining spike, and that has got to be all she wrote, I think. Bike choosing to attack from the north. And sneaking some scorpions around the edge. I mean, I feel this would only work if he'd... Well, just as I say that, I was going to say this would only really work if he's packed up his MCV and sort of sends Bike on a wild goose chase. But the fact that Bike has brought his own MCV and is continually making barracks, I think renders this tactic pretty impossible to pull off. As they do make that final attack there is a fair good number of them. They will make light work of a base without any defences, but like I said, the fact that Bike has brought along his own MCV means that it will be near impossible for Lumos to win this one. But we all appreciate Lumos fighting till the very end. And there we go. We are down to a hidden MCV in the corner. And a couple of barracks that are going to be destroyed. And I think the sell-off is coming now from Lumos. But he made Bike work for it, that's for sure. No, he's waiting till the end. Is he capture something? Is there something I'm missing? Or is he... There may, for all we know, they could be swapping pleasantries in the chat, or this could be a very frustrated Lumos waiting until the very end. So it is 2-0 to Bikerush, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay then, moving on to our third match with Bike 2-0 up. We are on a slightly modified version of Tournament Dust Bowl. This is the non-poker version. So each player has a spike much closer to home. And although it's perhaps against my map philosophy, I think sometimes, although it's a bit based on luck, it does throw up some different build orders. It looks like both players have decided to have a series where it's mainly down to their own ability as opposed to sort of early choices and stuff like that. We'll check the players. So Bike as the red GDI in the south, and then Lumos as the teal nod in the north of the map. So we see some early scouting across the map. It doesn't appear that the nod player Lumos has gone with shadow teams, as his spike is a lot closer. And we can see some early scouting there from Bikerush, winning that early duel. And it looks like Bikerush has gone for an, I always forget what these units are called, an outpost. They obviously have different names for each faction, but this will enable him to expand. Get quite an early expansion. You can see that we've got double refs here, so we will see a war factory maybe churning out some oh, it looks like we're going for some APC NGs. I was going to say maybe churning out some harvesters onto that field, but we'll track this APC NG. We can see the rifleman squad digging in there. It's a shame we don't get that call out. The sound is fantastic in this game. We'll track this APC NG. It doesn't appear like Lumos would have had any chance to spot it, but he'll have seen it now as he places down that ref. Will Bike just go for this ref? I think it's a sensible idea. Yep, he does get it, but he doesn't manage to pick up the engineer. Probably multitasking, as we see a couple of harvesters on this expansion and another refinery to boot, and a couple there. So Bike not only preventing his opponent getting a good foothold in terms of economy, but also really ecoing up himself. Lumos is now double war factory to Bikerush's 1, and I must not get tricked by that that garrisoned rifleman squad. We have 3 Scorpion tanks here on the expansion field of Bikerush, but a couple of Predator tanks will force them off. We'll see if there's anything untoward. Is this a? It's just a buggy. I thought it could be sort of a bike or something like that, but I would say a really big advantage in terms of economy here to Bikerush. However, he's he's had to spend a few dollars, as it were, on some rocket squads just to defend this this early attack from Lumos with some Scorpion tanks. And he's actually gone Crane, has Bikerush. So perhaps noticing he has got a foothold in terms of an economy and is going to try and plow through the build order, maybe tech up quickly, maybe go huge on economy, or probably most likely just doing both at the same time to really push forward that advantage. We can see that Lumos is across 2 fields now, but he's across his 2 safe fields, his immediate expansion, and as we speak, Bike has done the same thing. So Bike across 3 fields now, but is he going to be able to defend this swell of Scorpion tanks? It's going to take quite a lot of rocket troopers to defend against this. We can see some silos going up to try and block off and keep those refineries up. Really clever use of the mines. That might take out a harvester. That might take out a Scorpion tank. 1 harvester goes down. Is another being targeted here? No, it looks like the Scorpion tanks are being targeted. Wise move there. But as these Scorpions reverse out of range, they are targeting down another harvester. We can see 3 harvesters down now. So a lot of the economy down on this third field, but it shouldn't matter too much in the long run because Bike has already just established across his third field. So although a lot of harvesters have been taken out, it's more of an evening of the playing field, I would say, as opposed to really kind of a major impact against Bike Rush. Although Lumos is up to tier 3, so we should see some avatars, and I'm sure those Scorpion tanks, they've already been half upgraded, and we must track to see where it looks like the Tiberium Catalyst Missile. My goodness, three refineries. I don't think any harvesters were taken out, but 2 incredibly close, and luckily the tier 2 retaining some build radius, and I think Bike has done really well to keep up his economy on that field instantaneously, and we see the tier 3 down now from both players. Bike catching up in terms of that. Maybe a little dangerously positioned, this tier 3, but it looks like he's going to get both upgrades for his Scorpion tanks, and magnificent use of some stealth tanks here. Is he going to... Oh, unfortunately not able to micro them quite away from this sonic emitter. But it looks like he's going to get another couple of volleys off. I was going to say when that Tiberium Catalyst Missile came down that I would have loved to have seen some Venoms or some stealth tanks. And it's no shock that an excellent player like Lumos was following up his attack there. And I think if these Scorpion tanks can be spread out well, then they'll be able to take out this sonic emitter. Not having many units with a huge rage capacity, and very quick sell-off there of the tier 3 and the War Factory, but it's still going to hamper his opponent. A really big swell of Scorpion tanks here. Yet Nod not quite having that kind of long-range ability, at least in units that are commonly used. They do have the kind of beam cannons, the beam tanks. What are they called? I'll look that up for you because I don't want to get it wrong. What are they called? The beam cannons, and a bit of a flare unit really. You only tend to produce those units when you're well ahead. But nothing like a Juggernaut Walker or a Devastator sort of airship, as it were, from both Nod and Skrin factions respectively. So they can sometimes struggle against the base defenses, but not against this number of units here, as we try and keep our sort of eyes on both fronts here. So we've got a bit of a mass infantry swell, and the Scorpion tanks have made light work of this. I've got to say, fantastic comeback from Lumos from losing kind of that initial expansion, just throwing all his money into tier 1 units and fully upgrading them. Although Bike has really pushed forward with his infantry units on this front here, and it looks like a really good use of the stealth tanks to just finish some units up. It's just the eco here, and that's got to be it. These units will probably be able to be taken out by a bunch of shredder turrets or black hands, and I think this is a really, really great game by Lumos. We've got heroic, we've got a fully veteran at least Scorpion tank there. Really nice to see, and perhaps my only sort of final comment would be, are we going to see just the lack of a mix of units here maybe trouble Lumos? But I just think they've got those dozer blades and just any decent spread here, and we see the majority of those rocket troopers being taken up by the stealth field there, and that's it. Bike has called in the game there, and it will be 2-1 into our next match. Into our 4th match of this series. I believe it's a best of 5, so if Bike wins this, he I believe has the series. Lumos hoping to tie it at 2-2, and it's no surprise to see Bike choosing Small Town USA, one of his favorite maps, after a loss. And we will check the teams again, and it's the same colors. So Bike this time choosing Nod, but he is still red. And just as in the last match, Lumos as the teal Nod. So a mirror match, as we often see on Stusa, as it's affectionately nicknamed. Match, which is really typified by just a race to one clicks, essentially. So for those maybe newer players who have stumbled upon this video, this series, those sort of tier 4, if you like, support powers, it's a race to those, the Catalyst Missile and the Vapor Bomb. Both players trying to get as much overview of the map by garrisoning some central buildings. We can see Bike has won that match, and he's also got a great overview of the map on the kind of extremities as well. And we can see, we'll have a quick check in terms of the eco, but it'll be fairly standard builds from both. So we've got 3 just about, Bike a little bit behind, but both players 3 harvesters on their field. And I've even seen players kind of beaconing when they've spotted their opponent's tech and stuff like that. We can see, looks like Lumos is ever so slightly ahead. But both players now onto tier 2. It's now looking at their choice of initial units. We can see Bike has a couple of bikes, and Lumos choosing to throw out maybe an extra harvester. He's on 4 there, but he's also gone bikes. We can see that actually Bike has 5 harvesters. I don't know if I've missed something, but I'm trying desperately to keep up with the action here. It looks like both players will be imminently placing down their tier 3 buildings, but the difference is that Bikerush has gone for a single flame tank as opposed to throwing out some extra kind of bikes and buggies. So we'll try and do a good job of following these round. Interestingly, this flame tank hasn't been spotted yet. Bike throwing down or moving his bikes down the guts of the map there as a possible method of distraction, and he's also diversifying this attack with some here we go, we've got the Catalyst missiles as I pause for my commentary, and it looks like Lumos is the first person to launch his Catalyst missile, closely followed. You can see here that a couple of harvesters were taken off the main field, and we have this flame tank probably going to get a refinery, which is going to have a big impact on the eco. Is it going to go down? Yes, it is, just about. So we'll really closely try and track, and a really lovely hand of what are they called? Sorry, there's so much going on. Black Hand Squad flaming down the base expansion. So we are on 4 harvesters, 1 ref. Looks like 2 or maybe 3 harvesters to 1 ref. So Bike coming out slightly better, even though he was just behind his opponent. Maybe doing a little bit of a better job. And this Black Hand Squad proving a real thorn in Bikerush's side. It's preventing that quick expansion, and Lumos has got a really nice swell of bike buggies there. We've got a couple of Scorpion tanks from Bikerush, and it looks like it's now been fully repaired, and it will continue on its journey to expand. Lumos is going to see this because he has some garrison building there, but I think Bike having to be a little bit wary now of the small squadron of bikes that has taken out a harvester. That's a really good investment as Bike sells a refinery. It's only 5 bikes, but they have done really well to take out a harvester. So we're down to 3 harvesters, 1 ref because 1 was sold off, to 4 harvesters, maybe 5 if 1's glitched here, but I think 4 over 2 refs. So this is what we want to see on a match, both players going for the same expansion. I think this could play into Lumos' favour. In fact, I don't really have to think. I'm pretty sure if you can get down some obelisks to match these avatars, I think is going to have the upper hand here. Which players have retained their Tiberium chemical plants? Neither player, so we're not going to see any vapor bombs. You can see the oh goodness me, this is going to be close. And I say that because the obelisk of light have come down a lot faster with Bike having those dual MCVs down. One avatar goes down. It's just whether these can be supported from Lumos' side with a bunch of obelisks, but the obelisks make very light work of the avatars, but they are being quickly reinforced. And it's going to be interesting to see whether the engineers that are perhaps being produced from this Hand of Nod can be focused down. Here we go, Obelisk of Light. I wonder if that's with enough range to really help take out these obelisks, but you can see the avatars really just walking down these Obelisks of Light, and there we go, we've got an engineer. So is this going to be focused down? It might well be, but there might be so many. Oh, it's really, really fantastically run over by a harvester. That's how to get investment from a unit, but it does go down, and it looks like Lumos has won this field. And without Bike expanding to the other one, he concedes this field, and that is a really important. Well, it's critical, in fact, and Bike concedes, so we're 2-2. So I think in this best of 5 mini-series, it's going down to a final game, and that is really, really exciting because Bike is a really heralded player. Lumos a great player in his own right, but I don't think many people have seen him take this down to a final game. So, we'll see you in the next one. Okay, so we head into our final match, winner takes all. We'll check the colours and teams again, and it's as you were in the last match, bar Bike choosing GDI, but he is still red. Lumos in the bottom left as the teal nod. And I've had to install this map, Tournament Lake, I believe. Quite a popular map. This has had a number of bug fixes to it. Shout out to Claymore, I believe, for those. Fairly standard start from both players. Lumos being a little bit quicker to get his initial ref down. But this map, for those who've maybe not played it before, is characterized shock by a big lake in the middle, surrounded by some buildings, but then a fairly logical series of expansions, although players can choose to sort of expand maybe towards their opponent. And as I say that, we catch a sneaky surveyor hoping to become an outpost, and you could maybe argue going towards his opponent's natural sort of third expansion, as it were. So both players were just being pinged here because they are garrisoning these buildings for map overview. We've got 3 harvesters, 2 refs, to 3 harvesters, 2 refs, but not only has Bike chosen to expand here, he's also moving his MCV to what looks like his closest field. I would say it would be slightly more natural, just as we're seeing here for most Tiberium Wars players, I should say, to base creep, but I think Bike is showing his experience playing the expansion Kane's Wrath, and that's a game where you tend to move your MCV a little bit more. So we'll see a slight delay, although Bike is sending a harvester that has been produced from his war factory, but I would say the advantage that Lumos has here is that he's able to sort of sell off a refinery and still get an extra harvester there. So maybe just narrowly ahead in terms of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh no, we've had enough being produced from the war factory here that Bike is narrowly ahead. We'll keep a close eye on this expansion here. It's not been spotted by Lumos, who might get a bit of a shock if he tries to expand there, if half of the field has been taken from him. But we're just seeing the battle between kind of scouting units. If I haven't mentioned already, both players get a spike that is relatively easy to defend because of the garrisonable buildings, and it's really close. although it is susceptible to something like a flame tank or particularly a black hand squad that can garrison in the building. That might be somewhere where Lumos can get the upper hand. These Scorpions just proving a little bit of a nuisance, but they will be taken out by these pit bulls if they don't retreat. We have an APC NG, 2 APC NGs, 1 refinery gets captured and 1 war factory has been sold. So will that prove... Oh, we've got double war factory in a obviously unorthodox position. And it looks like Lumos could be pushed off his field, so my goodness, how things can swing. Do we even have a war factory here? No, it was sold and relocated, so Lumos is going to be thinking to himself, why are all these units stemming from the left of this map? And it's because of that cheeky expansion. Oh, a really good use of the build radius there from this refinery. And it means that these tanks are going to be constantly repaired. Have we seen a cell? We haven't even seen a cell of that. So 3 war factories are going to be producing units. And this is off 1 refinery at the moment. Well, I say 1 refinery. Multiple refineries, but 1 on a full field. Really good mine drop there. Although these watchtowers making light work of those mines, and Lumos throwing in the towel in the last match. So this series does go to our favourite Bike Rush, but Lumos just doing fantastically well. Unfortunately, you hate to see a series as close as this decided by an APC NG, but I think it was extremely clever to back that up with a sort of a proxy double to triple war factory. Really exciting stuff. Alright guys, really hope you enjoyed that. Hope to see you in the next one, and yeah, have a good day all.